Hey y'all, this is Xenoxis, and this is the Xenoxis show for the 12th of December 2022, and today is, well, I'm just gonna check here. Okay, the microphone is working, that's good, because I was checking it just here. I was checking if I needed to activate it there. Today would normally be the, the Game of the Year video, but we're delaying it this year, so this is going to be the final preparations video. This is going to be part 3. The first preparation video was not called Preparation, this was called Game of the Year Candidates, because that was basically the first time I took up what all the candidates were, or all the candidates were back then, basically, pretty much. And this is now the final, basically, candidates list, at least for now. There might, be a surprise game that I end up getting, depending on how late we do the Game of the Year video. Because I never want to make it on the last of December, basically on like the 31st. Because the main problem then is, of course, that it gets often stressful. Now, I might do it after the 24th, but then I would probably do it on like the 27th. So I would have 27, 28, 29 and 30th. Because I believe the only red days technically are like 24, 25 and 26. They're usually on 27, 28, 29, 30 are just regular days, I think. But yeah, so yeah, I have some text I need to read and stuff that, and I'm not gonna do everything that's in the text, of course, but I'm gonna try to explain, of course, also why we're delaying the Game of the Year video. Because Vampire Survivors is getting an expansion on the 15th. On the 15th. The Maple Leafs, by the way. Toronto Maple Leafs. I have had this for a long time, actually. But it is pretty warm. It's Adidas. It's actually the official, NHL brand. Where, and stuff that. So, they are, like, pretty expensive, and stuff that. But, yeah. So hey all, this is Xenoxis, and this is Game of the Year 2022 Preparations Part 3. I decided to record this on the 12th of December 2022, which normally is the Game of the Year video date. Again, like in Part 2, I'm removing a lot of unnecessary text, although I will actually post some old text as well that I've edited, like text from the very first Part 1. So I was thinking back to 2021 and how Mass Effect Legendary Edition only counted as one game instead of Mass Effect 1, Mass Effect 2, Mass Effect 3. So I thought it would make sense if some of that was true here. I would of course mention the games included in said collection if a game previously took up multiple slots. This of course also makes it likely I won't have to do it won't have to be a top 50 to 60 list. It's more likely to be a top 30 or 40 list. But of course the list will be as big as I feel like it needs to be. So that's what I mentioned here. But one thing to also note is that Mass Effect Legendary Edition is a proper collection. What I mean by that is you boot it up and you can choose the game. You can choose the game you want to play. You want to play Mass Effect 1, you want to play Mass Effect 2, or you want to play Mass Effect 3. The thing is, the Alt History collection with the Wolfenstein thing, that had the Wolfenstein games in it. Except for like the early Wolfenstein games, it's basically their reboot and onwards. But they're not all on the same, like, there's not just it's not like one game that has all the games in it. It's instead each game individually. So it's not an actual proper collection. So that's why I counted them as individual at first. But I thought that, oh hey, let's just count this as a whole collection, because otherwise it just takes up so many slots and stuff that. And I thought that made more sense, even though it's not a proper collection, to be said. Because a proper collection, of course, means that it's like one game, like the Crash Bandicoot remake, which was the Insane Trilogy. Which, by the way, I classify as a remake since the physics are different and it's actually harder than the original. Because I do remember beating the original back in the day and stuff that, and it was hard. It was really hard, but I never remembered like cheesing the bridge stages. And the first bridge stage is not that bad actually, but the second bridge stage, yes, there is a part where you can fuck up, where if you not if you don't give a certain turtle a perfect positioning, then you won't be able to clear the jump. But you also need some momentum before jumping on the turtle. You can't just be like, oh, here's the turtle. You cannot just stand close to the turtle and jump on the turtle and then manage to get over. Like, you need to have run up, basically, pretty much. But I believe that you could actually go back in the level, just slightly back, and then you could go back to where the turtle was, and then you could like make it and stuff that, like you could make it like respawn and stuff that, which you cannot do in the modern one, I believe. So the physics are different, because there were like issues I had in Crash Bandicoot 3 on certain stages where I know that, oh, I don't need to dash jump this, I can make this jump normally, but then in the Insane Trilogy you need to do a dash jump to clear certain jumps that you normally don't need to dash jump at all, and that just feels wrong in my opinion. And it might be, you know, because the TV I have now, it is really bad with the input delay. I might say, oh, input delay doesn't matter, but it makes a big difference. But I also think that when I, for example, when I play Super Metroid on this, I think the Super Nintendo, even though it's a PAL unit, because it's PAL here, I don't think the ROMs on it are PAL. I think they're actually the American versions of the ROMs and not the European ones. Because the thing is, PAL runs at a different frame rate. So, in Super Metroid, for example, when you're doing the thing in Brinstar where you do the mock ball thing, that thing, I remember when at one point I was trying to learn it, and I tried to look up tutorials of what the input is. And when I did it back in the day, I never remember doing those inputs. I used to remember just running into the room, jumping, and then just going into ball. And that was it, pretty much. I don't remember needing like a specific input for it to make it work. And maybe it only works like that in the PAL version, because the PAL version runs slower, so it's easier to do it. Whatever, because of course you have more frames, I believe, because it runs slower. Right, because... Right, that will give me more frames, right? Because if it runs at a faster frame rate, then you have less chance to get certain things. So you have more, like a more... you have a bigger window, so to speak, with PAL things, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, so the candidates, of course, I will go over them, you know, they're in no particular order. The 2022 GoTY Candidates. So it will be less now than it was before. So Don't Starve Console Edition, Shipwrecked, and Hamlet DLC. Don't Starve Together Console Edition, PS4 of course. Shenmue 1, Shenmue 2. Yes, I did split them up, but that's because of course they're two different games. Shenmue 1 and Shenmue 2, and that was not really part of a collection either. You had to get them both individually. There was no like, collection package. That's Stranding. Wolfenstein Alt History Collection includes Wolfenstein, the New Order, Wolfenstein the Old Blood, Wolfenstein 2, the New Colossus, and Wolfenstein Youngblood. And Youngblood is, of course, takes place after New Colossus, I believe, and is with like a female and a male, I think, or two females or whatever it is. And like Old Blood is like a free, or like is after the New Order, but separate or whatever. Like, yeah. Now you don't of course get the expansions for Wolfenstein 2 for whatever reason, so it's like not a complete collection, sadly. Number 7, Blair Witch. Of course these are in no order, you know, these are just like the candidates, of course. Number 8 is Alan Wake. So normally this Wolfenstein here would take up like 1, 2, 3 and 4 slots normally, and now it only takes up 1, so that's a big deal. Number 7 is of course Blair Witch. Number 8, Alan Wake. Number 9, Chronicles, the Radical Dreamers Edition. Number 10 is the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, which is of course the Great Ace Attorney Adventures and the Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve. Number 11 is Resident Evil Revelations. Number 12 is Laser Suit Larry, Wet Dreams Don't Dry. And number 13 is Laser Suit Larry, Wet Dream Dry Twice. And then number 14 is Elden Ring. And number 15, The Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind. Number 16, Vampire Survivors. On December 15th, the first expansion is going to be released for $2 dues. That's 2, and then DOLLR, and then it's one of these. I, and then one of these again, and DOO, and then an accent, and S. $1 dues. So I'm going to delay the Game of the Year 2022 video, which I normally would record on 12th of December. I mentioned it that there. Number 17, 8 Vampires 2 Definitive Edition PC. all expansions load the West, Dawn of Dukes and Dynasties of India. December 15th, 2020, April 10th, 2021, and April 14th, 2022, respectively, for like the release dates of those. Number 18, Need for Speed Heat. It's a PS Plus game. I indicate that they're 19 God of War 4 basically. PS4, that's a PS Plus game as well. Because like PS Plus are to indicate that they are free via PS Plus, that I got them for free. Number 20, Yakuza Like a Dragon. Also PS4, PS Plus. Number 20, 21, SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. That's PS Plus. That's actually a remake of an old, or a remaster. I don't know if you consider it a remake. I think it's of an old PS2 game. It might have been on GameCube and Xbox as well. I think it is a PS2 game, but it might be later. Number 22, Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster Collection. Final Fantasy 6 now included, so Final Fantasy 1 through Final Fantasy 6 PC, because it came out earlier this year. I think it was in February, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, and Final Fantasy 6, of course. The thing is, the version of Final Fantasy 6 also is like really good, because the opera scene actually has actual voice acting, and it's actually done by an orchestra. So it's like pretty insane, the stuff that they have added to it. Although the pixel sprite artwork is worse. Way worse. And I don't know what it is, because here's the right. On the Super Nintendo game, you might remember that Locke Cole, the main character, or technically there are several main characters, you could say. Like Terra is technically the main character. She's the one you control first, not Locke. But you know, I mean, you don't need a specific character in the party to control. Like when you get access to all the characters, you don't need to have Locke in your party. You can have whatever characters you want. Pretty much, you can make your own team and stuff like that. So yeah, so it's pretty interesting. And in Final Fantasy 6 also, like, what I mean that is the sprite artwork. Like, normally there's a lot of color variations. There's not just one type of blue on him. There's like a lot of different shades of it. Like there's several black of the same color, basically. Like it's several different shades, and that makes the character like look really good if you use a lot of colors. But if it's now, there's like less color in it, and they have like brightened everything up. And then of course people call it, you know, like people usually when they take something in a game and they make it new, they call it the glow up, because they are, oh, it looks better. And most of the time it looks way fucking worse. They make fucking characters that used to look good look bad, and then they call it the glow up, and then they use the whole thing of, oh, it looks more realistic and blah blah blah, and that's just like left extremist talk, because oh, now it are like the whole thing with everything must look ugly because communism, you're not meant to stand out, you're not meant to look good, you're not allowed to look good, you're not allowed to be healthy, you're not allowed to be blah blah blah, whatever, you know, because they're miserable, so everyone needs to be miserable. Yeah, I say one drinking monster. You're drinking the butterflies. Yeah, boy! Butterfly use them, but yeah. I actually like the sugar-free ones as well, you know, and stuff like that, but yeah. Odeon monster. And then you have stupid people on the war forum, and sometimes it's like, oh man, they must be talking about me. No, but they're not. But the people on there, you know, and they're like so angry all the time, and they're like, it is pretty funny. Some of those people on forums, you can definitely tell they're mentally like not like sound like some of those people are insane. And it's a bit sad. Then of course number 23 here, Hearthstone Murdered Casanatria expansion. I could basically include a March of the Lich King there, and like the Path of Authors there as well in that, because that of course could put it up several positions, even though I didn't pre-order the Lich King thing. And that's just because of having to get like Tactics Ogre Reborn, and I expected that to be kind of cheaper. If it would have been cheap enough, Tactics Ogre Reborn, then I would have been able to get the Hearthstone expansion, but I was not able to, sadly. Because I mean, the pre-order always gives you the most for the money wise, so that especially now this expansion, because now they also like gives you like some other signature packs and other stuff. So yeah, But there was the Murdered Cats and After expansion. Number 24, Diablo Immortal. Number 25, WoW Wrath of the Lich King. Number 26, Star Wars The Old Republic. Number 27, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe plus Booster Course Pass. I haven't tried the new stages yet. I know there was a new stages that were released recently. And the funny thing is, some of the World Tour stages are not in the World Tour game yet. But they are in like the newer Mario Kart. Like I knew that holiday stage, like the Christmas stage, would definitely make it into it. Which of course is really, really nice, you know, like I don't like the new caps. Sadly, like the new caps don't have like any rewards. Like if there would have been rewards like new like carts, like I definitely think they could release a new like cart or bikes pack or whatever, like with some new carts or vehicles, or just a rebalance, you know. I did a whole video and I still have the list here where I did a whole solution to the balancing, how there were like so many points difference with how they nerfed how they nerfed certain carts. And the only reason why they nerfed them is because they nerfed some of the heavy characters, and they nerfed them because of the fact that they were so good in Mario Kart 8, but that was because of the snaking, because you could still do the whole snaking thing, and that made it so you would basically use like you would use Bowser, you would use Morton Koopa Junior, and you would use. Did they use Wario as well? I think it was most Bob Bowser and Morton Koopa Jr. That was the two characters basically you were using, and then you were using the Circuit Special or some of the other ones that had like the same kind of like real quick speed, you know, and stuff like that. And the thing is, like, and it was not only that they nerfed Circuit Special, they nerfed all the ones in that class, except one of those vehicles actually did not get nerfed, but instead got nerfed to another level. But yeah, was this the balance solution? Yeah, of the rebalancing. And basically vehicle tier list there. What do I say here? Like the thing is, within that list, the Circuit Special B-P wing would still be a C tier, but they would be like plus 11 points from what they are now, so they would become worth 33 points and stuff like that. Yeah. Because yeah, and then certain ones are changed into another like tier and stuff like that. So yeah, so there were a lot of things. And then when it came to the tires were even like worse and stuff like that. Like the Cyber Slick got buffed up to 30 points, and that meant that they got increased by 13 points and stuff like that. So there were a lot of like things that they were used, like the imbalancing was used so bad with certain of the decks and or tires, I mean. And it was just like the Slick and Cyber Slick specifically got like super punished and stuff like that, and it's just like there's no sense to ever almost use any tire above roller than a Soul Roller. Now the normal blue, I believe, and the GLA are like acceptable to take. Same thing with the Slim Wood and Crimson Slim, I believe those are all in the same tier. But here even they are buffed, like normal blue and GLA are buffed by 1 point. Slim Wood and Crimson Slim are buffed by 3 points there and stuff like that, yeah. Because the normal like balancing is really bad on certain things. And yeah, the character, or like what? So first off, character and vehicles, they need to balance to be similar to OG Mario Kart 8, since there was only a 8 points difference in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe compared to 5 points in OG Mario Kart 8. The weakest character would need a buffing by 3 points and stuff like that. So like I basically did a solution for this is what the stats should be on things, or this is how many points they need. And of course you might say, oh, but they might just just buff up something unnecessary. No, but they're all like on certain vehicles where it's like, okay, they're already good in speed, so you need to buff up their handling or whatever, or acceleration or whatever, and stuff like that. And it's just like, yeah. Number 28, Pokemon Legend Arceus. And number 29, Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition Switch. In October, number 38 is Tunic on PS4. And October-November Halloween sale counts as games for October and November. because, you know, in October I did also get something else. I think in October I might have gotten the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe during October maybe, but I don't remember for certain when it was that I got it. So yeah. So basically, number 31, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Number 32, Tales of Arise. Number 33, Metro Exodus Gold Edition. Number 34, Dead Island Definitive Collection. Includes Dead Island Definitive Edition, Dead Island Riptide Definitive Edition, and Dead Island Retro Revenge. So that's another collection with like 3 games, and I count all of them into that collection. Number 35, 20XX. 36, Dead by Daylight plus Resident Evil Project W Chapter plus Resident Evil Chapter. And then number 37, Resident Evil Director's Cut, which was PS Plus. Which was free, I believe. Even if you are not a PS Plus member anymore. Although I won't allow Wild Arms 2 on the candidates, I decided I'm letting REDC on it. Because otherwise Wild Arms would just win way too easily against the other games. I'm actually planning on doing a video where I talk about some trophies that I thought could be in the game. To have trophies, they would need to pass the game and pay Sony in order to do it, but yeah, the trophies would have to be coded, of course, as well. Trophies would have to be coded in as well. Because yeah, the Director's Cut, it has no trophies to it for whatever weird reason. And I mean, there's a lot of trophies they could use to take from like the remake and stuff that they did on like the GameCube and stuff that, because that, of course, in the remaster, when they remastered the remake on GameCube, and they made it on PS3. I think they made it onto PS3 first, and then they made it onto PS4. Maybe they only made it onto PS4, but I mean onto PS4 and then like the Xbox One and the PC and stuff there. But yeah. Because you could have like trophies for like Chris and like for both Chris and like Jill, and then playing through the game like in certain ways and stuff that, and you know, getting certain things, like you could have one for getting the different like crests and stuff that. You could have one for like choosing to take Rebecca with you and like leaving Rebecca behind, and they could have like other things like, you know, like allow Barry to get killed, you know, and stuff that, like, and stuff. But yeah, number 38, Tactics Ogre Reborn. I need to read a lot about this one, by the way. PS4, based on the Super Famicom original, which is basically Super Family Computer, because the NES was Famicom, Family Computer. Original Tactics Ogre released on October 6th, 1995 in Japan, basically Asia region. However, later on also came out for the PlayStation on the 25th of September 1997, basically in the AP region, and in NA on May 1998, making it the big brother of Final Fantasy Tactics, released on June 20th, 1997 in Japan, and January 28th, 1998 in NA. Why did I mention Super Famicom? Well, since it only came out in Japan until the PlayStation release, which also happened in NA. However, Reborn is based on a PSP remaster, more of a remake in my opinion. Of course, both the original SNES game and the PSP game had on the title, whatever you want to call it, of Let Us Cling Together, which is also like the final chapter before the New Game Plus kind of thing. Which technically it's not a New Game Plus, unless you rewind it all the way back to the start, because you have time traveling powers. Released on the PSP in JP regions on November 11th, 2010, and in NA February 15th, 2011, and in EU on February 25th, 2011. While Final Reborn was released WW, which is worldwide, on November 11th, 2022. I'm going to create a mock-up list, by the way, not while recording, of course, to see how many games I consider good enough to end up on the Game of the Year list, 2022 list. I'm going to see how many games would make it onto the actual list, to see if like a top 20 list would even be viable. And then basically I would be extra harsh on the games, on what games I would put on there, because there might be certain games, like for example Resident Evil Revelations, for example. Yes, really good game. What's really good back on the 3DS, because I got it on the 3DS, of course, and I got that special box, you know, which I've shown before, with the whole extra, like you put the 3DS in the thing, and then you got like an extra thumb pad because you didn't have 2 thumb pads, so you got an extra one, and it helped with the the controller with the 3DS, and it was still when it was the thick 3DS and not like one of the slimmer models or the bigger models or whatever of the 3DS and stuff that. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. So yeah, where were we? And then of course I also wrote here, I'm thinking about adding WoW Shadowlands as number 39, specifically for Dragonflight pre-patch. Since I don't have Dragonflight yet, although technically it's not a pre-patch anymore, even for Shadowlands users. Also the leveling has been sped up a lot, especially 50 to 60, even in Shadowlands. Although it seems that the killing bar for like helping Revendreth are then wield Bastion, not like the specific like helping the technically you're actually helping the you're helping the actual factions. You're helping like the Night Fae and stuff that, and then you're helping the Kyrian in Bastion and what do they call them in Maldraxxus? I forgot. I don't remember what their names. It's taking longer than before. Kind of wish that would be sped up as well. Because I mean, here's the thing: like, if you do all the world quests in the zone that you can do, you don't fill up the bar all the way. So you need to do side quests. You need to, and I don't think that getting treasures fills it up anymore. So you need to basically complete quest and kill like rares and stuff. That's what you need to do basically, pretty much. And it feels like that is taking longer than before, but yeah, but it's actually pretty decent. Now, because you can choose of course still to go into Shadowlands, even with doing the thing, but yeah. So those are the games. But I am planning to do like a mock-up and stuff that. And then there will definitely be certain games that wouldn't make it onto there, unless like the games are really good. But then of course when you have to wait in things like a collection, for example, like Wolfenstein, like of course collection is both a benefit and a detrimental. Like, okay, like what is good in the collection? Like I know New Order is good, I know like Colossus is good, but I haven't played all of them yet, in the collection, I haven't had time to play all of them yet. And stuff that, so yeah, so it's like but then there are certain games that are like obvious, like, oh, this is not good enough. Now Morrowind will of course guaranteed 100% make it onto the list. It's because Morrowind is still good, and Morrowind is still like it carries its own weight, and stuff like that. But yeah, Toronto Maple Leafs, I'm actually removing it now because it's getting a bit hot. Boy. Okay. Good. Yeah. Funny thing. I had it on the arm when I did the last one also and stuff like that, but yeah. But anyway, in Vampire Survivors also, they did come a new patch a while ago, and that added, of course, the only character you had to actually do the reverse Gala Tower, which was actually pretty easy. I wanted to do it with a specific character and stuff there because I wanted to get high enough level to get one of the Arcanas thing. I mean, technically, if you want to do the Arcana fast, you can just do the library over and over with all the characters. Except there are certain Arcanas, of course, that really require you to reach level or the 31 minute on certain of stages. And then you basically don't want to do the turbo version of those stages, unless you're playing as certain characters, of course. Because then it doesn't matter which character you do it on. So I could just like do it on a very, very cheap character. Stuff like that. Now, the only character, by the way, it's like... Basically, it's a parody of Battle on the Big Bridge from Final Fantasy V. It's a parody of that, pretty much, is what it is. I need some water. Big old chunkus. But yeah, so there's basically, you unlock the bridge, the tiny bridge, battle on the tiny bridge or whatever it's called. You can go to the left and you can go to the right. There are some items you can pick up. Now obviously the thing is that I forgot that something I could have done is actually that I can lock it to only be like one weapon, to only have like one weapon on a character. And that's of course like really, really good for certain of the characters, because then you basically gain like a buff to like several stats, and it's a really, really big buff as long as you have just one weapon slot selected. Of course, you can get it even stronger if you select, for example, if you get Oni. Oni starts with a lightning ring, which doesn't take up a slot, which is the same with the bird character. I believe the bird character has like super weak health. So with the bird character, you need the Pomerola, which is the tomato, and you need a hollow heart, because otherwise the thing bird just dies super quick. But the bird also really wants to get like the laurel and the clock lancet, so you can get both of the power-ups. But technically you only need to get the thing that makes it so that you can only take a certain amount of damage in maximum. I believe it nerfs the damage, so you can only take 10 damage at a time or whatever it is. So that, because basically you need a cloak is what you need, and I believe that requires you to only have like the laurel. You don't need a clock lancet, because the clock lancet is of course for the thing that halves enemies' health. Of course that makes you kill death so much quicker and stuff that, but yeah, which of course one way to survive. But yeah, but the one is pretty insane, because you get a lightning ring, then you get more lightning rings every a certain amount of levels, and then you can have 5, I think, lightning rings in total. But you can also pick up another lightning ring and then get more. But then the thing is, like, once everything is a lightning ring, one of them can evolve into the thunder loop, as it's called. However, when you upgrade from a chest, if that chest, for example, becomes a legendary orange, basically, or orange yellowish, then it's like what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is it 5? No, it's 3 in a blue one. It's 5 in the purple one. Is it 6 in the, or is it 7? I forgot how many it was in the orange chest. But then, if you do that, for example, when you do the upgrade, when you first do the upgrade, that's when you have a chance to receive several thunder loops, and that decides how many upgraded of the rings you will have. So you can basically get, because it is completely possible to have like 2 thunder loops, and that shouldn't be able to possibly happen, and stuff that, but it can happen. And I do believe that the ring stacks if you select the ring, or if you pick up the thunder ring or lightning ring or whatever, if you pick it up, even though all the slots are already, because of course you will have 1 free weapon slot, because you cannot set it to 0 weapons or whatever, so yeah. But yeah, and lightning of course is really good, because you want to have like the cooldown thing. You want to get the red book with cooldown. I kind of dislike how some of the symbols look now, though. It's pretty crazy to go back and like think about the fact that a lot of characters looked completely different back when I first started playing Vampire Survivors. And I believe back when I cleared the diary plant, that was still before the nerf. Before they nerfed the diary plant. Of course, the reason why I had issues with the chapel is, of course, because when you're doing it in hyper mode, then it is considerably harder and stuff that. But also it's because of the fact of the characters that I choose to do it with and stuff that, and I didn't pick up the right weapons, because the thing is, on that stage, you basically have to focus on leveling up early and gain a lot of level, because if you try to move around too much, then you won't be getting levels, and then you will be into war's time. And sometimes actually having the cursing can help, because sometimes more enemies are better. But then of course, depending on what card you choose, if I, for example, would have chosen the correct character and then selected it to only be 1 weapon and then use the whole cursing, or use the thing, so you only have like 1 weapon or whatever, then I could have easily like done it on certain characters. Because even then on garlic grams, like the garlic gets so much more powerful and stuff that, even though the garlic is a bad example, and stuff there, but yeah. But then apparently also when I was doing it with Pagnala, I was not getting the thing I was supposed to get. Because supposedly she's meant to always start with both guns. And I believe either it is that the gun is a pickup or you go to the shop and you get it. But I believe you are actually supposed to start with both guns. But maybe you have to use the old skin on her to make her start with both guns or whatever it is. I don't know why it wasn't working on that stage, if it is a bug or something like that, but yeah. Because I'm pretty certain I did a run right and I complained about not getting both of the guns or whatever right. But I probably went too much into guns on that run, you know. There are of course certain things that are really powerful together. And also it's like books are always, like the books are really good when you like combine it with garlic and stuff that because of that thing. You know, the whips are also really good. Especially if you can like evolve them, because during your first run in the game, the first run you do, there are a lot of weapons you won't have access to because a lot of things, even passives requires you to unlock them by doing certain things, and you won't unlock them during the run you're doing. So even if you fulfill the objective during the run, you won't be able to pick them up. And technically, even though there's not a map during the first run, of course the coffins won't appear, even if you know where the coffin is located on the map. The coffin won't be there until you get the map, I believe. But the other power-ups will be there. So the spinach will be there. The skull won't be there though. I'm pretty certain that the cursed skull, won't be there on the stage. But the hollow heart will be there, which is required to level up the whip, which you can evolve. That's the only weapon you can evolve. I know you can get daggers on your very first run. There isn't that much you can get actually on the very first run, the weapons that are like available, but you can pick up spinach, and I believe there are 3 spinach you can pick up, which is really good by the way to get. But when you're doing the very first run with the Antonio guy in Vampire Survivors, you need to very quickly you need to like be like super aggressive and almost like walk into enemies. Like you need to make sure that you kill them quickly, you know. And on the bosses, you know, during your very first run, you're guaranteed certain chests at certain, I don't remember if it's at certain specific levels or if it's the first chest you get is a 3-drop. Then second chest, I believe so, is an epic, and then the third chest will be a guaranteed like legendary or whatever, you know, and stuff that. And it's like if you make it that far. And of course a lot of people when they're doing the first round, they aren't like killing the bosses, or they don't know, you know, because okay, oh, this boss is taking too long, I'm not gonna waste my time, but it's like worth it, you know, because you need those chests because they are guaranteed and stuff that. And yeah, of course, you know, once you get the hollow heart, you're able to evolve once, you know, you pass the 10 minutes, you know. And it is super important because that's the way you get the self-healing and stuff that. But I forgot how much it was you could get during the first run and stuff that, how many weapons you could get. Because the knife is really powerful, because the knife will fire in whatever direction you're going, you know, and stuff that. But if you're standing still, it's whatever direction you press pretty much, so you can kind of aim it and stuff that. But it goes really good for killing bosses. And I think it has very, very little cooldown, you know, and stuff that, yeah. But there's a bunch of like stuff you won't be able to get, like the cooldown thing doesn't appear until the library, I believe. The thing that gives you like the cooldown reduction. So there's like a limit to what you can get, of course. The thing is, of course, if you pick up spinach, then you gain access to spinach. If you pick up like the Pomarola, you will get access to the Pomarola. So there are a lot of important pickups you can pick up, you know, that stage. So it's very important. But of course, knowing where they are and knowing how far you need to go in certain directions to get to the thing. Of course, the thing is just straight up is Hollow Heart south, or is it southwest? I think it's southwest. From the starting position is a Pomarola. Spinach is east, slightly southeast, and then like southeast, or whatever it is, or like southeast. Like it's at a very specific angle. Like all the spinach is pretty close to one another, so yeah. And stuff that, and knowing that is very, very important, you know. But yeah, you can completely like clear the first run and stuff that. And I think that when I did the whole when I did a whole that stage, the chapel stage, and I tried to do it, I could have like easily done it. Like I didn't know, of course, that the stage killers were the character that looked like the other characters, because I did it later with another character when I completed it, like when I wasn't recording. And then when I did that, when I cleared it, I of course cleared it with, because I was able to get far enough, so I killed enough stage killers, so I got to Embryo, and then I was able to do it because Laborad, which is the egg, fires basically art assets, or basically fire like things from the environment. So like here have this bench, boom, have this window, have this like coffin and stuff. That with those projectiles also kind of works like the Rune Tracer. They bounce, but they bounce when they go into enemies. So you basically shoot them into enemies and then they like keep bouncing. So if enemies gets really close to you, then they're like used multi-bouncing. So Labora is really powerful and stuff. That, yeah. But there are of course sometimes that you can get unlucky with the stuff, where you really need to waste like rerolls and stuff, that to reroll the thing, many times, and hope that you get lucky, but yeah. So yeah. But yeah, I don't know exactly when we're gonna do the whole thing. I'm just gonna check here, because it would be cool, if it was otherwise that you can get it early or whatever because you played Vampire Survivors before the game came out, whatever, but yeah. Oh yeah, Dwarf Fort is now available. Vampire Survivors. I should just move it up to the top actually. Vampire Survivors, yeah. Yeah, December 10th they made a news there. They have updated the news. Vampire Survivors Legacy of the Moonspell DLC comes to Steam on 15. Oh, there's the list of character. That's way too quick, well. Prepare to enter a new chapter in the Vampire Survivors story as you thrust into the world of Moonwell in Vampire Survivors Legacy of the Moonspell. The Moonspell clan has fallen overrun by vicious Oni and yokai that have torn through the lands like teeth through skin. In Haven of the Living Dead, the survivors have caught wind that a vampire might be in these lands, and with the sun forever set, there's never better time to begin down. The Oni and yokai aren't the only thing that can be vicious, however, as a new group of survivors enters the fray, armed to the pointy teeth with new weapons and new evolutions to cut this thing down. 30 new weapons, and one of them look especially like the Muramasa, or one is supposedly probably evolved Muramasa, one is base Muramasa, one looks like one of those Japanese like festival robes, or maybe it's supposed to be like a maid robe, like the, what do you call them, like the traditional, like the geisha thing. And then you have a bloodied hand. The bloodied hand might be the hand, like the Cam hand in Castlevania. Then you have some orbs. That could actually be the orbs from Castlevania Symphony of Night. The orbs, the talisman, pretty much. Then there's like an arrow kind of thing. Or it could be one of those, like point at the end, and then it looks like there's lightning. One of them is water. One of them is the whole thing you have around here, which looks like a monk thing. There's the upgraded bubbles, which kind of look like acid. Upgraded sword. The potion, I'm guessing, is supposed to be the bubbles. There's something that is a potion. And then you have an upgraded version of the arrow or whatever that thing is supposed to be. No, but this is the upgraded talisman probably. That's the upgraded hands. And the potion must be the geisha thing. That seems weird though. Or it might just be that that's one of those things that doesn't have an evolution to it. And they're showing 4 of the characters there. 8 never seen before characters. A brand new stage, our biggest yet, filled with several environments, which also features unique monsters. 13 new weapons between base versions and evolutions. 6 brand new music tracks. December 15th, $1.99 reduce, 1.99 euros, and 1.59 British pound sterling. Yes. And blah blah blah. Will be in game to see free update? Yes. Does it see how to see what about my %? Yes. On what's the yes? Give me secrets. This one, yes. I don't know. No, I cannot do that. And then of course you had like new content, like the patch 1.1.0, the tiny one, 2 extra achievements, 1 new power up, 1 new challenge stage, 1 new secret. That of course was the tiny update with the tiny bridge, which came with the rolling thunder, the bridge challenge stage obtained by reaching level 18 the inverse Gala Tower. And then you had the seal power up, and of course you would unlock the Oni character, pretty much. Which of course the thing. And you need to go on the right on the bridge, which was easy to figure out, but yeah. See, on the 15th, that's the Vampire Survivors DLC, which, you know, is gonna be fucking super mega pog. Like, I'm just really excited because, you know, like, you know, that also makes you think, you know, okay, because of the fact that they can do very specific themes. Imagine, like, if they do, like, a horror movie theme at some point, or, like, old horror movies, like, I mean, hero-wise aren't that interesting, but there could be, like, cool things they could do. But I've said that, you know, the whole parody I thought about was the whole, like, Resident Evil, like, Raccoon City Survivors, or, like, if the Capcom did something. But then, of course, we know that, for example, there are people that are making, like, mods for Resident Evil, or hacks for Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil 3, you know, and stuff that. And those are, I don't know if they're necessarily approved by Capcom, but they're allowed because they don't get taken down. And of course, there was a game on PC also that was free, which was the Street Fighter Cross Mega Man, or Mega Man Cross Street Fighter, or whatever it was. And that was of course a free game, and that was, you know, where you were Mega Man and then you defeated the Street Fighter bosses, but that's Robot Masters, pretty much. And that was pretty cool. So the question is, could it be like a parody in, like, Vampire Survivors? Could they, like, have, I know, like, okay, they wouldn't get the official licensing, but I mean, like, the fact that, because, I mean, of course, with the Street Fighter X like Mega Man thing, they probably did get the license from Capcom, but the question is, would you need to get the license from Capcom for doing, like, similar things, like making, like, survivors that look like the Resident Evil characters, and, you know, but it would be boring. All of them would have guns, but I don't think that is true. And you could introduce, like, stuff like the green herb. You could have, like, the first aid, and then maybe, like, like someone like Rebecca, for example, could start with the first aid, or that weapon would maybe, like, instead be like a healing thing. Okay, so when your health gets depleted completely, you, like, full heal or whatever, and maybe you would have certain charges. So it kind of would be like a tiramisu. Maybe it would only, like, go. It would activate when your health gets low or whatever, you know. And then, you know, you could have, like, different weapons, like you could have, like, a knife, you could have, like, you could of course have, like, different guns and stuff that, but you could have, like, other things, you know, that makes sense, you know, like, you know, because she knows medical things, so maybe she could use, like, potions, like alchemy, basically mixing, like, potions, like, okay, like these fire potions and stuff that, this ice potion, like, freezes targets, and, you know, maybe you do, like, several different, like, mix, you know, and stuff that, and then you can have certain mixtures, like, with you and stuff that, you know, like, select, like, alchemy, and then, you know, like, when the alchemy is selected, you can select, you know, like, maybe, you know, like, then you can focus on, for example, potions, and then when you get a level up, you can choose, like, okay, like, how to make the potion different, so you can add, like, new effects to the potions, like throw one extra potion, make the potion explode, the potion slows down enemies, this potion now freezes the enemies, and then as you gain, like, more levels with the potion, you can gain, like, different effects and stuff that, like, that could be cool, you know, like, it could be some cool thing. And of course Nemesis would probably also be playable, and Mr. X and, like, other things, and that could be cool, you know, and stuff that, because, yeah, you know, I do think there's a lot of cool stuff they could do, you know, and stuff like that, but yeah, yeah, Star Wars could be cool also. But I mean, like, you could make a parody of something, right, without, like, requiring the license, so that it wouldn't obviously be the characters, you know, because, you know, they did have to remove All Rocks, so I'm guessing that the All Rocks was too close to the Castlevania thing. So maybe it was Konami that got them to remove the All Rocks thing, because All Rocks was in the library, the reptile guy in the library, that's All Rocks in this second form, so yeah. It's always weird, right? how like in like Symphony of the Night, like okay, Olrox is in the first castle and he's supposed to be like a high-ranking vampire and stuff like that. But I think that's always weird is that I'm pretty certain that Symphony of the Night, if it would have been another console, or if they would have had more time or whatever, it probably would have been on 2 discs, and it would have been a third castle. Because I remember them talking about like a third castle or whatever, and I'm pretty certain that they had like a lot of ideas for it. But the thing is also that in the second castle, there's not as much unique music because several areas share the same music. Because the thing is, in the first castle, like all the areas had their own music to it, pretty much. And in the second castle, there are several boss locations, or certain locations that are technically missing a boss. Like the reverse library doesn't have like a boss to it, or forbidden library, or whatever you call it. I believe because it's called forbidden library, it's not called like a reverse library or whatever. You know, like certain of the areas have specific names, but yeah. And it just feels like, you know, like, because, you know, a lot of people are saying like, oh, because, you know, like there are several routes, for example, to max level. On the PSP, that's the closest I got to max level, because on the PSP there's less issue for the eyes, and on the PSP you could still do the whole Sword Brothers trick when you do the whole shop thing, because you cast the Sword Brothers spell, and then you can do the trick where you can pause the menu and like sell, like you equip the gem, you sell the one equipped, and then you can get infinite of a gem, and then you can just sell infinite diamonds and stuff. That then you can just easily do it, you know, and easily get 2 duplicators, because you need 2 duplicators basically, because then it goes faster, whatever it is. Because you can do it with 1 duplicator, but then it seems to be the problem is that there's a delay between when you're using 2 of the pentagrams. But I think the problem is also that I don't have 2 of a certain pentagram, and you cannot equip 2 unless you have like 2 duplicators, because 1 duplicator won't duplicate the item. Like, I mean, you will duplicate it, but you won't gain more of it. If you have 2 duplicators, then you can gain more of a thing. So if you have, for example, a single bat pentagram, and if you use it with 2 duplicators, then you will gain 2 bat pentagrams from using it once, then 3, then 4, then 5, then 6. So you can gain several. And then if you're using, because basically you won't have the strongest pentagram, which is Bat Pentagram and Power of Sire. Those are the strongest ones. And you want to be in the reverse clock tower. Now you don't want to go there and grind XP until Guardians give 1 XP. Because even when Guardians only get 20 XP, they're still faster. Kinda. Because, like, even when they're only about 20 XP, the thing is you can just kill the Guardians so quick. Kill 2 Guardians, go out of the room, kill 2 Guardians, go out of the room. You can use it very quickly. You can do it with Grisar Grim, Double Warda. You can do it with the Alucard Shield, of course, just boom, just run into them and kill them, you know. You can do it very, very quickly. And stuff like that. Because eventually the Guardians give very little XP. The weird thing is, though, that Galamoth, even though he gives a lot of XP, he's actually very low level. He's only level 50, I think. So once your level gets high enough, he gives only 1 XP. He won't give high XP for a long time, which is weird. And it's also like, okay, like even the Guardians aren't that high level. They're not like level 99. So it just feels like what I think happened is that there was meant to be a third castle, and that's why it's hard to get to level 99. You will, of course, if you do the Muramasa grind, you apparently are guaranteed to reach level 99, even if you're doing it with the knives. Although I'm guessing, right, with knives, right, because you technically don't count in kills, because all you need is the blood splatter, right? Because otherwise it takes longer if you don't do it with the blood splatter thing, because basically you want to use 1 duplicator or at least 2 duplicators to get your intelligence as low as possible. And then you use, of course, the sunglasses, you use the walk armor, use the blood cape thing, so you can take a lot of damage basically, so that you get back a lot of hearts. And then you use the dagger and you spam it, and then whenever, okay, now I need to get hearts back, then you just go and take damage. And of course you heal up with the thing. You can alternatively also equip with the duplicate, you can equip like a bloodstone, so you heal even more, because then you heal 16 per each blood splatter instead of healing 8. which is good. Now, sadly, there is no way to get 2 bloodstones, because I'm pretty certain that if you could get 2 bloodstones or several bloodstones, it could stack, but there is no enemy that drops bloodstone. There are actually several enemies that don't drop anything, which is weird. I always thought, though, that there was some kind of a hidden thing in the game. I was used to thought this, that the skulls that are indestructible, that you would have been able to kill them somehow and get a shit ton of XP. There's of course the hidden skull, or the ball with the spikes on it. That is a hidden enemy that is part of the enemy list, but doesn't show up in the library. That thing gives a ton of XP, and is, I believe, the best XP source on the first castle, because you can get very high level in the first castle. Of course, the question is what sword is the best? Is the sword in near Orc's quarters, like the one where you go up from where the clock is, and you can go left to get to the Colosseum, and you go right there to go past the hammer bro and the dagger knife dude, and you can go up to Orc's quarters. Is that sword, or is the one in the chapel the best in the first castle if you like duplicator it up? You might say, oh, but you cannot get duplicator while in first castle, it takes way too long. Even if you like pick up Jewel Sword, right? Because you get Jewel Sword in first castle in the hidden room. The thing is though that if you have enough luck, like it's easier to do in luck mode, obviously. It's easier to do in luck mode. But otherwise, in Colosseum, in the room where you get all where you have like the different sub weapons, in that room that also has like not the one that has the coin bag on the end. You could technically just farm the room with the 1,000 coin bag over and over. You could just farm that room and go through it and hope for coin drops from the enemies. And get 1,000 coin bag, because get it 10 times, that's 10,000. Get it 100 times, that's 100,000. Stuff like that. But if you farm the room with the skeletons, the thing is, high luck in Symphony of the Night affects coin bags in a very specific way. They make coin bags appear more. But it also affects drops, and that skeleton that is in that room specifically, one of its drop, and I believe it's not the rad drop even, I believe it's the common drop, is the $400 reduce. And for example, if all of them drops for $100 in that, then you gain 4,000, because I believe there's 10 skeletons in that room. So okay, so technically you won't get 4,000 each time, but if you for example get 400 like 3 times, then that's 1,200 a pop. And then the thing is, that room you can go in and out of very, very quickly. You can like just boom, go into the room very, very quickly, and then you can have like, because those skeletons are weak, they don't have a lot of health, means that you can for example put on Alucard stuff and then do it. And of course you could use Ring of Water, because Ring of Water also gives you luck increase, I believe. So yeah, so it is possible in the first castle even to have quite a bit of luck. You won't be able to get Lapis Lazuli in the first castle unless you of course make a luck file, because then you start with 1. Because the Lapis Lazuli, it drops in the second castle from the... It's not from the Dude Bird, right? Because the Dude Bird has the Heart Bros and the Rune Sword. I think it's from the Flying Dragon things. The Lapis Lazuli, because I don't think it's in the shop. I'm not 100% certain though, but yeah. Because yeah, you definitely want to have luck, and I believe it's 30 plus luck, right, from the set, from the Alucard set. I believe it's 30 plus luck, and yes, you can beat the game with the Alucard set, by the way. Because the thing is, like the one thing that also does the crit a lot effects, or something that affects a lot, is critical hits. And actually, when you crit a lot with it, the thing is that you actually attack very, very quickly with the Alucard sword. Of course, you can't do the teleport attack or whatever, I also think that it's weird, right, that how Bat is represented of course as a familiar, but if you think about it, there are two, there are the monster vials. One summons a bat, One summons a skeleton and one summons the merman. Merman and skeleton though aren't familiars, which I always thought was pretty weird. Like, why isn't there a skeleton familiar? Why isn't there like a merman familiar? You know, that just makes sense. You know, or a bit like duplicator is really just super fun, right? Because like, okay, there's just like the whole common thing. Oh, just use this throwing weapon. Her so fun. But then, you know, you have the whole more thing like, let's be a summoner and let's just throw out a shit ton of skeletons. And then, of course, it has limited fun when you have one duplicator, but once you have two duplicators, then you can just have so many, because you can just have like super many of a thing, so you can just spam like an army of skeletons. You can just smash the buttons and skeletons everywhere. Although I think there is a limit to it, how many you can have out at once. But of course you can use a meal ticket over and over and over and over to get like a shit ton of food and stuff like that. Of course you can use, once you get a certain specific food, you can just use that food yourself. And then you can make yourself get a maximum amount of sushis. Sushis is of course the best healing item. There is another one that gives you exactly the same health, the big like meat thing. I forgot what it's called. The sirloin. Sirloin gives 100 HP. And sushi gives 100 HP. Now sadly there is a thing, right, that affects the healing items, like the crossed ankh affects the healing item, but it does not affect food items. It only affects like things like potions and stuff like that, which is, you know, interesting. Because yeah, it does not affect the food items, because otherwise it would be pretty good, you know. But it's still odd, right, like that. The food items were pretty bad. Of course, they were better in a lot of other Castlevanias, like in both Dinosaur and Iaro, so it was pretty good. The funny thing, I played Dinosaur was my first portable Castlevania. Dinosaur was first, and because of me liking that, it made me end up getting the whole Castlevania collection thing that had both Harmony of Dissonance in it and Aria of Sorrow as a double pack. Because of just liking Dinosaur so much. And it was a friend that actually got me into a Dinosaur because I had a Nintendo DS. Because it was for the regular DS. Of course I eventually got a smaller DS as well, you know, the DS Lite. You know. And my first portable was actually the Game Boy Advance SP. And because I think that was before I got the PSP. And of course, because of the fact that I liked the Game Boy Advance, I'm pretty certain that was the reason why I got the PSP. And the PSP was so impressive, like graphically wise. Like the PSP was a luxury console, it was really expensive. But the fact that the UMD was such an impressive format, the UMD, like, when you got it here in Europe, there was a code you could use because it was Sony, of course. And Sony had the Spider-Man movie, so it came with the first Spider-Man movie. And even if you had seen this first Spider-Man movie already, getting that as a UMD video, and the video format is basically like it's DVD quality-esque, but on like a small screen, so it's like a really good pixel quality. And I think it's better than DVD quality, I would say. It's definitely better. Like it was like super impressive, I remember. But I remember wanting to get like several of those movies and stuff that I should have gotten those back in the day, because they were really just cool with whole idea and stuff that, like UMD discs. And it's pretty similar to the format that the GameCube had, but they weren't like UMD discs, but they were something like very similar to the stuff that you put in on the GameCube, except they were bigger, I believe, in format, the games on the GameCube and stuff like that, because they also had the whole protection thing, kind of like how the PSP game had like a small little tiny disc in like a thing, because they were protected basically and stuff that, you know. I mean, I probably still have some PSP games that I could show. But I know I have it in. Do I have it in this one here? I just want to double check, man, if I have it. Okay. What's this, by the way? Oh, that's just my HD stuff. Yeah, because I had an HD DVD thing for the you know, that thing. Got my bag. Random cat PT. Wow. Not cat PT, but yeah. This is there. Oh, this is the mouse pad. Oh, some Super Nintendo games. There's the Final Fantasy Celia and T stuff. Oh, here's my Chrono Trigger because the packaging on that was damaged. So I had to get like a CD package and put the game in the Chrono Trigger thing. Oh, there I have the PS1. Just a PS1 there. Adventure items there. Oh, there's my Super Metroid cartridge. Boy. I don't have all the Super Nintendo games anymore because I did sell quite a bit of them. Here we have an old classic. Equinox, which is, by the way, it's Sony. Remember that Sony logo? When they had like a quill pen? Quill pen. Equinox. Damn, that cover art is actually pretty sick, man. And Equinox was basically the sequel to Solstice. I have some on there. Boy. Street Fighter 2 Turbo. And then it's like, is he supposed to be laying down Sagat because Sagat is fucking a giant? And then the Honda is there used to go hard hand slapping. It's just so funny when you think about how tall Sagat is. And of course they cannot have him standing up, you know, and stuff. That's it's like weird, you know. Oh, those are not Super Nintendo games. That's not what they look like. They're purple and blah blah blah. They're purple and blah blah blah. Yeah, well here we have them. Do I have a game inside now? Here's my DS Lite. I know I have the thing packaged down somewhere also. The and then you basically have, there's the DS game port, and if you go back here, I see there's like a, you pop that out, that's where Game Boy Advance game goes, and you just pop this back in and stuff. That I don't remember how early the model were on that. So yeah, that's the DS Lite. Boy. And here we have a double pack. This is the double pack. So much value for the money. That's a double pack. Just win a double pack. How many of these scenarios are away, boy? Boy. 2 games. 1 game pack. Ho ho ho. Game pack. Oh. What the fuck? Oh, Spirit Tracks. Yeah, boy, here's my first Pokemon game. There's the diamonds. The diamonds. Boy. Yeah, Pokemon Diamond version. But I forgot that I had them all still, that I didn't. I don't think I sold any of my DS games, maybe. There's the Hot Gold. There's the Hot Gold. Because of course the DS was of course I got way more games for the DS than I got for the thing. Oh yeah, I did have more Kart DS. Boy. Because I got that with the console, I believe, when I got the fat console. And here we have the... Oh right. The Dragon Quest game. Then I never finished that actually, Dragon Quest 9, Sentinels of the Star Skies. But it's weird though, wasn't that portable only? 9, right? I'm pretty certain it was portable only. But wait, isn't that... That kinda looks like the guy in the newest Dragon Quest. Kinda looks like him, but maybe him when he was younger or something. Down here. Now there's one figure. Yeah, I can't win it all, so I still have my dome, so I thought I sold it. Boy. Down of Sorrow. Yeah. And then of course, Yoshi's Island DS, Resident Evil Dead Silence, New Super Mario Bros. Children of Mana, and Mario Luigi Partners in Time. the stuff down here are the actual, lots of actual games, but I don't want to like try and get them up because yeah, they're basically below everything else, and it's just way too tricky to get everything up. I'm getting super sweaty already just because, you know, like you need to bend over a lot. And this is like an old mouse pad I had. Yeah, this one is still like the, I mean, it's a bit damaged now down here at the bottom, but it's still like a really good mouse pad. Really good race mouse pad still. It's still a bit damaged though there at the bottom there. You can see when it's there, you can see that it's a bit damaged, but otherwise it's like cloth pads are used so much better. Like if it's proper cloth, because they can like last for a really long time, and you know it's really, really good. But yeah, I did sold, you know, a lot of my Super Nintendo games, which I regret, because the person that bought the person that technically bought the Super Nintendo games, that person of course eventually sold his Super Nintendo used to trade in for an N64, and of course he didn't get the N64 when it was new. It was already several years old, and it was a stupid place here in Sweden, or here in our city specifically, that gave you nothing for your games. So basically those games, I know that some of those games are worth a lot today and stuff like that, and it's just stupid sometimes when you see people just selling certain games and then just being like, I want to get a Nintendo 64 so bad. And then it's just like you should, because, you know, I really hate like selling games and stuff like that, and sometimes, you know, it's just I've gotten rid of certain things, and sometimes it's because my sister has pushed me to say yes to certain things, and it's just absolute bullshit. Because yes, you know, like all my GameCube games, poof. It's like that, poof. And all the GameCube games, poof. You know, and right, and also on the PlayStation, the fact that I rented out my Mega Man X4 PAL version, Mega Man X4, and I still have the packaging with the even like the game booklet in it, like the instruction manual, except the game is not in it. And Mega Man X4, specifically the PAL version, is worth a lot today actually. It's been interesting. Here's one of the dates for the movies. Although I don't have the big packaging here. So then at the Swordfish, Black Rain, Van Helsing, the Prestige. Or is it the big box here too? The big box? No, there's Lost Planet. Collector's Edition. I forgot I did put one Collector's Edition in here. That's what they're sticking box. This fucking game was so sick back on the 360. Like this special edition was so cool because it felt like cold, you know, because it felt like they had like, you know, Lost Planet was really, it was fucking pog. Because it had some like really, really cool artwork, like it had a lot of cool ideas. Like this could definitely be like a pen and paper like a role-playing game, or like use that whole universe was cool and stuff that, like the Lost Planet. But of course it became like super action heavy, but I still enjoyed the other Lost Planet games. I had a second game on the PS3, I believe it was. So alright, here we have. Damn, it's gotten so yellow now. This white stuff on it has gotten so yellow. Damn. Yeah, this is basically like an USB Santa. You like plug it in. And I believe actually on this, technically, if you find a site that made them, I know it's made in China, of course, obviously, but I forgot what brand this is because it has no like branding on it or whatever. It says start stop there, but it doesn't say anything else. There's no like no marking anywhere. And I don't know if this is that like super dangerous paint, because, you know, in China they have certain things like the Bioshock statue. There was like with the Bioshock Collector's Edition, that statue had the dangerous paint on it. The whole lead paint or whatever that smells like really bad. like that paint is bad to breathe in and stuff there, because that's how dangerous it is. Like it's like toxic. Not bad. It's like really bad. Yeah. You know, yeah. I mean, there was a lot of like. I didn't even have anything in this bag. Boy. Oh, you're right. That is if I was going to make a wig or whatever. You know, we have some lamb hair there. Ah! I can clean that up later, goddammit. Ho ho ho! That's the thing. My sister actually got me these a long time. Or not that long time ago, but yeah. Of course, they weren't bootlegs though. Because they actually. It's pretty funny, right? That there are some like certain toys or whatever that doesn't have the proper like Nintendo licensing and stuff like that, and then it's like bootleg versions of certain figures, and then it's like really weird and stuff like that. But yeah, that's of course was the DS Lite, and then I know that over there I have the, maybe I did put all those things over there. Maybe I put all of it over there. And this is of course where the thing is, I know you cannot really see it from over here, but just the thing where you would put and I still have a battery in here, which is weird. I still have the battery in there because it's not screwed. It's not screwed back on, basically, because you needed to screw it back on. Pretty much. Yeah, but this has two triggers here, one trigger here, so you get extra triggers with it also and stuff like that. Yeah, but that was for like the fat DS. I don't believe it worked for the slim DS, maybe it did, but yeah. But I know I have the original. I know I have the original. I know I have the original like 3DS somewhere as well, like the fat one, or the regular DS as well. Because the regular, of course, 3DS wasn't super fat when it came out. It had a special color, it had like the teal cyan kind of color a bit more. It was the green, I think. I forgot, because yeah. And of course, you had a 3DS XL as well. And then you had a lighter version, or you had a new 3DS. And I had that one, and the new 3DS is kind of my main one. Except I was trying to like move over like some data and make it so that the one that had the big memory card in it would be the small one. But then I ended up doing it wrong, and we ended up somehow making it so that the big one, the 3DS XL one, has the big memory card, because I was, like downloading games on it, or I tried to like download a certain Fire Emblem game, and that game would have been too big for the ordinary memory card. And then installing the memory card onto that one was stupid, because it doesn't just have a port where you just stick in the memory card. You had like to literally to open it up, basically, to put in the memory card, and that felt stupid, because yeah, Anyway, just need to mention a few more things. So in what do you call it, in let me just check here so it's still working here. I'll plug it in here, because yeah, it shows here that it is, the volume is on. So yeah, I didn't hit the mute button, right? It is supposed to be red there, right? Imagine, right, if I recorded this long and then there's like no talking or whatever, and I'm not like speaking or whatever, I think it's supposed to be red when it's not deactivated, and when you press it in, that's when it's not red. Because otherwise you shouldn't be able to hear yourself when you talk into it. But I remember that happening once, when I was being like, oh, am I recording myself or not? and it shows here like, okay, the microphone is picking me up and stuff that, you know, like, oh, the microphone is picking me up and stuff that. But yeah, and of course if I listen here, I can hear my voice and stuff that. So yeah, so that's really good. But then of course, like, I had it like that once, I remember, and then there was no sound in the video, and it was like, oh, I must have muted myself. And then, but then why does the microphone pick up the signal? If the microphone is on mute, then it shouldn't be able to, you know, do the thing, you know. But, you know, it might have been that I, you know, had sound in the beginning, but then muted it or something like that. But yeah. But lately I've been actually playing some Diablo Immortal, and I now have all the characters in it, except, of course, for some reason there's one less slot than necessary, so you cannot play as one of each class. Now, of course, it's not like in Diablo 3 where you could have like one of each. You could have a male and a female of each of the classes. That's something you could have in Diablo 3. But then, of course, if, like, I still think that Diablo 3 had way too few character slots still. I still think that it's really, like, really weird. Like, why do that limit? It's also really weird. Like, I feel like if you log into Hearthstone, then you won't ever get the whole gift of like several like card packs or whatever, you know, and stuff that. Even though there was during a period where I didn't get an expansion for a long time, so I still logged into and still play the game. But I feel like, okay, like if you haven't paid for an expansion for a really long time or pre-ordered it, like it feels stupid though that they comment, you don't have to log in at all. And that just is weird, because I know that there were people that kept logging in, and that they didn't like invest into the game for a long time. But it's just like, oh, how often do you invest? But then of course, like I just feel like maybe I've just gotten all lucky with that because I've never gotten gifts or whatever. But yeah. But another thing, like in the Battle.net here, when you select avatar, of course there are filters, right? But I kind of wish that the filter would instead be like filter away games like you don't want to see, but then also have it remember it. But I also think that there are so many avatars lacking, because it's just feel like I don't know how easy it is to just import over certain of the avatars, because of course Heroes of the Storm has a lot of good avatars in it for certain of the popular characters and stuff that, and like at least, you know, make all the Carbot characters be there and stuff that. But there could be like so many avatars that are used to feel like I'm missing. I just feel like the play characters for like Diablo Immortal should be here. The play characters for like Diablo 2 Resurrected should be there, like the male and the female versions of them. Hearthstone should definitely have some more of the characters, or at least some of the playable characters or the heroes in like mercenaries and stuff that you can select. WoW, I'm pretty happy with the selection from WoW. The Overwatch store should get the Overwatch 2 avatars, because they are different. They do look like different in a way, like they're more like high res and stuff that, and they do look different, especially when you compare, because there is artwork, I believe, of the avatars technically already. So yes, that's interesting. I definitely feel that there are more like WoW avatars needed, or however, like I definitely feel like there are some missing characters. Like there is no Maraude one, for example. There's just a lack of Draenei in general. But I mean, like, technically, right, they don't have that even, because that Jaina is not BFA Jaina. They don't even have like BFA Jaina here. I don't think you don't even have King Rastakhan, right? Yes, I know he was killed quickly, but he's still like in Hearthstone and stuff that. Yeah, there's no like King Rastakhan either. Talani is there, of course, obviously. Oh, we cannot have a character we killed off. Kof Garrosh. But Garrosh is in like the Hearthstone area and stuff there, but yeah. So I mean, that's like, it just feels like they could have had way more, especially for Warcraft 3, like Reforged, like some of the like unit arts aren't like that bad and stuff that, like there are some interesting ones that they could definitely have and stuff that for more of like the units and stuff that, but yeah. And then in StarCraft 2, it's another weird thing, like, oh, in StarCraft 2, They have the Otanis, they have the Haka, they have Sagara. They have Alrak, they have Abathur, they have Vorasun, they have Swan, they have Stukov, they have even Raynor, of course, they have Nova, they have Kerrigan, they have Karax, they have Phoenix, they have the Egon Statman, Matt Horner, they have Arcturus Manx, but there is no Seratul, lol. And it's just, yeah, and why couldn't they like add like StarCraft 1 ones like from StarCraft 1, you know, and stuff that like it just feels like. And I know like, okay, like hire more artists, you know, like to make more avatars, like people like having like avatars and stuff that. I used to wish that we are better than that. It would like not necessarily be like a social media thing, but be like maybe that with your profile. I'm not thinking that you would get like a page or whatever, but maybe you could like customize the background a bit, like have it like, okay, this is my WoW section, and in the WoW section you could have a link to some of your WoW characters, like armors and stuff that, and then like, you know, link to character profiles and stuff that, so yeah, that could be cool. Immortal actually, I feel, have gotten way better now with its free to thing. And actually on one of my characters, I don't remember how I managed to have 3 on it, because I didn't have it on any of the other characters, but I was able to actually do a run where I was able to use 3 of the legendary thing when I did a rift and stuff that. So you can get like enough like legendary gems, and when you're doing one of those runs, we managed to use 3 of the legendary things that you put in, then you're guaranteed to kind of get materials also to craft more legendary things. And then the thing is, like, if you have surplus of certain legendary things, or if you have certain legendary gems that you don't want to use, then you can use them to craft or upgrade other legendaries. So that, but yeah. But usually there are also certain legendary gems that you want to use for certain specific characters, and I believe you can put them in the stash. And I think the stash, right? The stash space, I'm pretty certain, is shared with all the characters. But it became like a really blurry there for a while. I think it was probably because I had like I had this thing in the way for some reason. That might have caused it, but yeah. Because I'm gonna play more of it, but yeah. But the thing is, because I have basically in the helm, I have like basically, I think I have in all the slots now where I can have a legendary gem. I have one. I also have an unberserker side that I crafted. I actually at one point used up a bunch of legendary gems that I didn't mean to use up, because I didn't know that I was using them when I was upgrading. Because when you're upgrading, if you select autofill, you don't know which one you filled in unless you go in and press on the button, because then you can check what gem it's used up. Because there are certain gems that you definitely want to have with certain characters, of course. Obviously, if you're doing a summoner build on like the necromancer, then you want to have the one that increases damage from summons, of course, obviously. So there's like a lot of different builds you can do. I will actually also say this, like graphically, there's a lot of people that Omgate looks way worse than Diablo 3. Which I can't consider bullshit. Even if you make Diablo 2 look as good as it can, it just looks like, okay, it's more zoomed in, which is actually a good thing. But first, you need to select warm on the skin. You of course need a good computer skin to make it look as good as possible, of course. And then you want to have the image sharpening on, because if you have that turned off, it for some reason more blurry. And then you want to, of course, set all the graphical settings to the highest. You want to make sure also that you cap kind of the FPS, because it's kind of janky a bit otherwise, for whatever reason. But yeah, of course, also one thing to notice is sometimes it can feel like your character is stuck there. Oh yeah, why aren't my character moving? And sometimes it's just that, yes, a small little thing, object can just block you from the character. Cannot understand that it can run around the object. Sometimes if you mouse click somewhere, then you just use the WASD key, because you can move around with those. Which I do recommend in certain battles, by the way, not to take like huge damage from certain things, that you can actually move out of the way, and that's like a way better way to dodge things. Because sometimes when you're chasing after one of those treasure goblins, it can be super frustrating, because sometimes your character can get stuck, or where you cannot move, and then it gets harder to chase it down. I always try and chase it down with the WASD key, because then it becomes easier. And one thing one skill in particular, you tell me that, oh, the graphics are so much worse than Diablo 3. Then go and check out, what is it called? Is it called Fray Lightning? I forgot the word, if it's called just Lightning. It's called something, right? One of the signature spells, of course. You had the signature, like, I believe the signature spells are kind of, there are only 2 signature spells in this. But both of them existed, I believe, in Diablo 3. And one of them is, of course, the one that, which is kind of like a chain lightning. That, you shoot out small little lightning bolts from your hands or your fingers or whatever, right? And that thing doesn't look super good on PC. It doesn't look that cool. But here it actually looks as proper lightning. The cool thing is also that, for some weird reason, right, like the normal thing that you have is the magic missile thing that you shoot out or whatever, from your wand, like a magic, like an arcane thing, or whatever. The thing is, when you gain your ultimate and you activate it with R, then you for somehow gain like freeze effect. That becomes your thing. So it's weird, like, why isn't your signature then something you have to do with like freezing or whatever? That's really weird. But with the lightning thing, you get like a super powerful lightning thing. But yeah, but lightning thing actually looks like really, really good and stuff. That I think it's though my first legendary that I got a legendary dagger, and I actually got it at level 33. I think it's fixed, so you almost kind of get one at 33 or 34ish or whatever. But the dagger I got was with Disintegrate, which also increases its range by 100%, I believe, which basically doubles its range. Normally it had a limited range to it, but now you can basically hit things off screen, and things off screen will actually take damage, so that it's actually very, very powerful with it, because you can be out of range from a certain boss attack, which is really good in the tomb area when you're fighting one of the bosses there, because you can be out of its range of its huge thing that it hits down with, because you see how the whole area becomes like sandy and like a golden-esque, and then you can move out of that area and you hit it with a beam from super far away, and that's just like really, really good and stuff like that. But yeah, but it definitely feels like there being less buttons actually make things really interesting, because then okay, you're pretty limited with what you can have like as a setup. But I also think like more signature spells kind of are needed. And it's a bit sad, like, okay, you cannot make a full frost setup, you cannot make a full, like, you can make a full arcane setup, I'm pretty certain, but you cannot make like a full flame setup or whatever, and stuff like that. So yeah. Now the question is also I definitely think that there are things that people would be willing to invest money into, especially if they do like a good package with like, maybe they should do one class at a time. Druid could definitely be represented. I definitely think it would make sense also for Diablo 4 and stuff, that even though this takes place before Diablo 3, I definitely think Druid could be a possibility. Witch Doctor, yes, Witch Doctor is similar to Necromancer. I remember people using a stat as an excuse to, they will never do Necromancers because Witch Doctor is too similar. And then it's like, no, like, yes, Witch Doctor also has to do with the dead, but they're more like voodoo is the thing, and hexes, and like the things they summon. Yes, some of it are zombies and like plague and stuff that, but it's more like plague-esque, and stuff that, and it's just like, it's different enough, and stuff that. But yeah, but I definitely find it interesting, that yeah, Witch Doctor could definitely be a thing. Druid can definitely be a thing, especially since you can clearly see that they have that NPC guy. He goes into like a bear form and stuff that, and then he uses some other spell. He uses like roots that he shoots out. I'm thinking those are supposed to be the creeper vines, but instead of the creeper vines just going and attacking things on its own, he actually shoots out the creeper vines, which makes sense for a skill, right? And stuff that, the question is, would he summon like the animals and stuff that, is the question. But yeah, that's pretty interesting. Amazon I could definitely see, or Rogue. Rogue could also work. I might say, Rogue or Amazon couldn't work if they have like Demon Hunter in the game. But I kind of think that's bullshit. Okay, sure, a Demon Hunter can use like range attacks, but they're not like focusing on, okay, they have like multi-shot and they have like certain specific shot. But for example, with an Amazon, they could make it about like them throwing their spears and stuff that, or them using like a spear weapon and stuff that, specifically with like our like a one-handed spear and shield, or two-handed spear and not a shield. And then of course with the whole throwing like javelins and having like special elements and stuff that. I could also see assassin because of course kicks and melee martial arts. Of course you might say about monk, but monk melee is different because it's more of a combo system with the whole with how assassin works. And assassin also has the whole burst of speed thing, which could be their movement and stuff that. There could be a lot of like interesting things because it means that it becomes a bit of a challenge, right, when you have less skills, right? Because then you're okay, like what skills cement it as the class that it is, right? Because okay, like this is a crusader. What does it have? I don't think though, however, a weird thing is that they don't have several character portraits that you could choose for your character. Because you can customize, for example, you can customize your paladin or crusader to be pale skinned. Even on a girl character. And it makes no sense that a girl character that represents your character in game is actually the you know the ebony with the is it dreadlocks? I don't remember, was it proper dreadlocks or not? Because there are different types of like locks that you can have. They're not all like dreadlocks, they're all like other different variants, but yeah. But it kind of looks like, you know, it's kind of weird like that, how that portrait is still the same, even if you select the character to look completely different, like it's still the same. Which is weird, you know, like why couldn't they have like several like character portraits at least, you know, to be somewhat resembling, you know, depending on because I mean they could have just done that and made it like maybe like I don't know if they don't have the technology for it to make it like match the hairstyle that you show. So oh, you chose this hairstyle, like the hair color doesn't need to be the same, right? That or the hair color you choose, but you saw that it matches your hairstyle and that it matches your like skin color of the character like you choose and stuff that. So if you made a super pale character, or if you made an ebony necromancer, for example, it would like show up properly or whatever, you know, and stuff like that. So yeah. And I know, yes, you know, like yes, in Diablo 3, you know, there was no difference between the character portraits, like for the character, but then of course you couldn't customize your character. So that's a thing. Same thing in Diablo 2, you know. So yeah. So I mean, because if that would be the same thing in like Diablo 4, and you won't be able to get like a so that I'm gonna make my barbarian look like this old old barbarian, and then your character looks like super young or whatever on the portrait, and then it's like like the, you know, the what is it, Home Improvement. No, I cannot do that voice properly. That voice is pretty funny though. But yeah, I think that will about do it, you know, and stuff that, you know. I have very little left because I actually drank this for breakfast today, actually, earlier. It's weird, actually. I've noticed that the Final Fantasy 1 icon is really small and all the other ones are really big. And Final Fantasy 1 is showing the Warrior, Final Fantasy 2 is showing Therion, Final Fantasy 3 is showing technically the Onion Knight, because that's what their default class is pretty much. Final Fantasy 4 is showing Celeste, right? Final Fantasy 5 is showing Bats, or Bartz basically. And Final Fantasy 6 is showing Terra. And actually that snow scene in the beginning is really, really well made, like when it's like redone. Yum, yum, yum. This one is pretty good. Actually, all the used flavoring ones are pretty good, actually. Even though this one has a lot of sugar in it. It's actually different, like the pink one. There's a punch one that's kind of also like a fruit juice one. That one has like way less sugar than this one. This one has a lot of sugar. But there's like a daily intake of sugar you kind of want. Now the thing is that a lot of people were like, oh yes, sugar bad. Yes, sugar bad. But not all types of sugar. Like, sugar is different depending on in what format it is, because there are different types of sugar. There's brown sugar, there's like raw sugar, there's cane sugar. Cane sugar is actually less bad, I feel like. Like, sure, sugar isn't good, but there are like sugars that are like addictive. Certain types of sugar, not all types of sugar are as addictive, you know, because there are definitely in certain sodas where there are a certain type of sugar in it, and then they want you to drink more of it. But of course, a lot of the crap stuff that are allowed in the United States are not allowed here. Of course, like the whole corn syrup thing, which is really bad. A lot of reasons why certain people like sodas is not because they're sugary, it's because of the corn syrup thing. That's what a lot of people get addicted to. And I remember when I had like an American Mountain Dew here in Sweden that tasted good, but I became kind of ill afterwards, even though the flavor was good, and that was kind of because of the corn syrup, because my body isn't used to corn syrup, because that shit is nasty. Now, of course, certain monster flavors I do think are better than others, and here in Sweden we have, of course, a lot of competition. We have like Nocco, Holy Nocco, if you're a Holy Paladin, and then you have Red Bull. Well, not really Red Bull, because I also like to drink the Celsius one, which is also Swedish. Nocco is also Swedish, of course. Now the thing is, Nocco is kind of based on green tea, I believe, and then it's kind of watery, like in a good way, because it's like green tea, but then there's like water with like several flavors, and then it's like carbonated, but it's also like has like a not BSAA, it has like a BCAA, I think it's called, like amino acids and other like stuff, you know. And those are pretty good. The main problem is those are only like 330 milliliters, while this is 500. So, you know. And it's so fucking weird. If you recycle this big one, you only get 1 Swedish kronor. I remember when they were hardcore about the recycling, and they gave you way more, and they actually gave you money back for doing the recycling. And then it's just like, yeah. And sure, if you have a bunch of these, that's pretty good. It can be quite a bit of money back. But then when you consider what one cost, and then it's only one, like, I'm pretty certain that back in the day these would have been like 5 Swedish kronor or something like that. I remember, because like, I'm pretty certain that 1 liter Coca-Colas was, how much was it? I mean, it depends on, of course, what year you mean, you know, but they did like recycling really big here in Sweden. And before, back in the day, you could actually earn quite a bit of money if you like, because, right, there were like actually people, there were old people that if you were an entrepreneur, not entrepreneur really, but if you were a smart kid, you could go to like old people and they would have a bunch of like different cans of like different things they would drink, or like sugary things, or even ones without sugar, you know. But as long as you had the whole thing where you had to recycle it, and then you would get a certain amount of money back when you recycle it, then they would actually pay people to recycle their stuff, or basically they would get a cut of what they got back. So, oh, you recycled for 20 Swedish kronor, here, have a 10. And, you know, back during the whatever, you know, back then, you know, prices were so much cheaper on a lot of things, and things were bigger also. Now it's like, because I do remember just a few years ago, there were like 1 kilo, exactly 1 kilo, like that's 1,000 grams, 1 kilo of cornflakes, the Special K, which the Special K is superior, by the way, to the original flavor, and the Special K has like less sugar in it, or like has very little sugar in it. So you kinda need to add sugar if you want to, but you don't need to, because it has enough taste on its own. I think that's the main problem. Like, cornflakes on its own aren't good because they get soggy too easily. But it doesn't feel like it's the same with the Special K. And the Special K thing, back in the day they had 1 kilogram packaging, even a few years ago. And now the biggest package, it's the same big package, but now it's only 800 grams. So it's 200 grams less. And you pay more for it now. It's more expensive now than it was before. And I'm not even talking about, go back 10 years. You can go back 3 years. And it wasn't the same 800 gram package, I'm pretty certain. Or maybe it has been like that for a while now, because I made them, I started getting it again, the Special K. Because the Special K is actually pretty good, because sometimes you're like, oh man, I don't want to make like proper dinner today. So then you can just take some Special K and have like bananas with it, you know, put some banana into it, you know, so whatever, you know. I kind of wish I had some coconut so I could have like coconut flakes over it, because coconut is pretty top tier. Coconuts are actually very, very strange, right? Because if you consider the whole coconut, and if you like eat everything in it, like the milk, which is actually really, really good, the coconut milk, and then all the like the meat inside the coconut, because technically it's meat, it's white meat, the coconut meat, that's like really, really good. I thought that like coconut is really good. Coconut! På minst ett tillfället träff Miss Seger! Granat! Dumskalle! Kamikaze! It's so hard to drink it properly. Like sometimes it's really hard to get everything out, you know, stuff there. Yeah. Oh man, imagine that, just having like a refilling monster and like poof. Like you wake up next day, poof, the monster is filled again. Like that pig thing in Nordic. In the Nordic myth. The pig that comes back. That I forgot the name of. The one that, they eat it. Sarimnir, någonting. In Swedish like. It's the pig they eat it, and it's a big pig basically. It's not like a tiny little pig, you know, it's like a big chunky boy. It's basically like a boar, more like it's more popular like a wild boar instead of just saying, oh, it's a pig, right? I think it's actually supposed to be a big, huge fucking wild boar. Whatever, you know, when they eat it, and then it reincarnates every night in Valhalla. Basically. And I always felt like in the medieval game, the whole Hall of Heroes things, I felt that was inspired by exactly that. Because it was like a hall where they would drink, feast, and whatever, you know, so that felt like it was supposed to be like a version of that. But then, of course, not that there's anything clever about shooting someone in the eyes or I show you. And it's basically like you're trying to say, like, I show you, but holding the mouth closed, so that's basically how they made the voices, if I remember correctly, for that. Like when they made like the voices for Daniel Fortescue. That it was just basically the person saying it, but saying it with the mouth closed, pretty much. That's how they did the sound for it. Here, take my warhammer. It'll smash anything and won't fall apart like a club. 90s is rubbish. And it's like they say that the best defense is the best offense or whatever, like, but I think 9, and then, you know, it's a magical like a gold shield, but even the gold shield breaks. But of course the gold shield you could use the enchant to get like fully repaired again, which the thing is you cannot get like the copper shield or the like the silver shield you couldn't get repaired, but gold shield you could get, you know, magical repaired. And of course you had like the broadsword, the enhanced broadsword, I believe. When you have it like fully like enhanced, right, it does the same damage as the medical sword, I think, or slightly less. But then of course the medical, like the blue, like Giga, Shad, like Claymore, or like Swayhander, or whatever you want to call it, which is huge. By the way, that thing, the thing that makes that so good is you always want to make it like the charge hit, because that thing can basically carry you to a game. That thing like has more range than it looks, so you can like hit things from really far. Because like when you were playing that, like the original game, like a lot of it is about not getting touched by enemies and then like abusing your range. And knowing also that certain ranged weapons are really powerful and stuff, that there's definitely like certain strategies that you need on certain like enemies to defeat them easily. Also, that chicken weapon that you can refill is actually incredibly powerful, and it's actually almost needed for like certain levels, because you can turn like enemies into chicken, and then you actually are provided with food with that. And they're actually really good on one very specific level where it actually becomes hard to do certain things. But yeah, you had like a lot of like really good weapons in that. There's also of course, you know, the lightning that you get, the Sevs lightning and stuff that. Of course, then you also had like the whole dragon transformation that you get, but that's of course not a weapon that you get from the whole Hall of Heroes. That's a weapon you actually get from the thing that transforms you kind of into a dragon, whatever it is. But yeah, and technically there also exists a hard mode, of course. If you play through the demo, there's a thing that you can equip that kind of makes you take more damage, I believe. So it's kind of like a hard mode, which is pretty cool, you know. But yeah, but there's one level that I got an issue on that I remember getting stuck on, and the thing is, that level is not supposed to be hard, but there is a platforming section that just becomes stupid, I think, because of the camera angle or whatever, you know, and stuff. That's why I haven't gotten through it, you know, and stuff that. But I didn't try that many times, you know. But yeah, so yeah, should I look up at the new Mario Kart Deluxe, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe DLC Wave 3? I think it is up to now, right? I'm pretty certain that it's DLC Wave 3. Yeah. Mary Mountain for Mario Kart Tour, Peach Garden for Mario Kart DS. Why is that the first news that show up? Because that's not the up-to-date thing. Maybe a 3-way for Mario Kart Wii, Excellent Stage, Rainbow Road for Mario Kart 7. Mario Kart 7 was only portable, right? So I didn't play that. Boo Lake, Mario Kart Sub-Circuit, Berlin Bowways, Mario Kart Tour, Rock Mountain, Mario Kart 7, London Loop, Mario Kart Tour, Peach Gardens, Mario Kart DS, Merry Mountain, Mario Kart Tour. And then they went over the Mario Kart 2 things. So like, okay, so I'm guessing the first 4 stages here are the ones that are ducked in one of the cups, and then the other 4. So it's maybe a 3-way, Rainbow Road, Boo Lake, Berlin Byways in one cup, and then Rock Mountain, London Loop, Peach Gardens, Merry Mountain. I'm hoping that's the order they're in, because otherwise, like, why take them in this specific order otherwise, if it's not like these 4 are the first cup? And then, but if it's weird that in the second cup you have 2 Mario Kart Tour circuits in the second cup there. Yeah, December 7th is when they came out. How many waves was it, by the way? Wasn't it like, how many waves were they gonna release in total? Was it 8 waves or 6? I forgot exactly how many waves they were gonna do. But yeah, it is a bit sad, of course, that that it's gonna take a while for all of the stuff to be released. You know. But yeah, but this has been the preparations, of course. But I need, of course, more than just like the preparations and stuff that. I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to fit everything into the video and stuff that or not. But yeah, I don't know when we're gonna do a recording, of course. I would want to do it before like Christmas, of course, obviously, if we can, you know. Because even if I get something like on Christmas or later on, because I will of course check if there is a sale going on, and maybe if there is a sale going on I will get the games already now, because of course I know that Vampire Survivors will only cost $2. I know that it's 199 euros, and I know that that will be under like, that would be under, I think it will be something like 21 or 22 Swedish kronor or something like that is what the pricing will be, or something like that. It will be less than 25 Swedish krona, I know that at least, unless the price changes a lot on the euros over that time. But yeah, Because yeah, I definitely maybe want to invest into Dead Cells. For some reason I've completely missed Dead Cells. Because I mean, I am interested in quite a lot of Rogue games. Like, I really enjoyed Rogue Legacy, was really fun. I know that supposedly there is a sequel, but I don't think it's out yet. And that it's only out on PC, I think. But yeah, but apparently the thing that makes Dead Cells so good that it is similar to Castlevania in a bit. Or specifically to the TSVania games. Or Symphony of the Night, basically. And that they're having a crossover that apparently starts in February. A Castlevania crossover. And then it definitely looks like Richter is there. Alucard is there. The question is, are they parallelable? Or is it like that there are weapons from the games that are playable? Or is it specifically like Castlevania maps? Will they add like areas that are Castlevania-esque? Or will like... Because I know that what they have in game are like skins for certain characters or for your main character. Because I think it's still always the same body, right? It's that ninja body that you pick up. Like if you use the blueprint, right, for the knight thing in Dead Cells, right? You don't become like a different character, right, that moves different or whatever, but yeah. Because I mean, otherwise it's like really, really cool, depending on how that crossover would be, of course. But it just seems like really cool that it's very, very Castlevania inspired. Like if you have a sword that's called like a blood sword, obviously Muramasa reference. Except this blood sword actually makes something that the Muramasa kind of should have done, which is like make targets bleed. Of course, like understand like the blood healing, like you're healing via their blood, so you're basically making their blood splatter on you. But you're not causing a bleed effect to the target, which you should, because you're making them bleed, you know. Because that's basically you making them bleed, and that blood is coming on you, and that's what heals you, and you know, yeah. But yeah. Anyway, this has been Xenoxis for the 12th of December 2022, which normally, you know, would be the Game of the Year video, but this has just been the Game of the Year 2022 Preparations Part 3, which was the final part of the Preparations. The next one of these will of course be the Game of the Year video itself, which I still haven't decided, as I said, which date we're going to do it. I'm going to check, of course, if there is a sale already on a few things, you know, because I might be able to get something extra this year, but we will see, you know. It depends, you know, and stuff there. Because yeah, because I mean, because I wouldn't want to get like things so that they are like expensive, right? I would want to get like cheap things, like probably get a few indie games, because I know that there are certain indie games there that I have been wanting to get for a while. But if you get indie games, for example, when they are on sale, because I believe that all the games that were shown during that press conference, right, they will be on sale for, I forgot how long of a time. I think it's a pretty late time that they will be on sale, all the games that were shown. Or basically all the games that are, like, not all the games that are shown, like, okay, this game is not coming out within this month of the year, oh, now pre-order it for cheap, lol. No, but it will be like games that are like, if there's like a new indie game getting like new content like that, will be on sale. So Dead Cells should be on sale on the PSN store, and I can just go in on the PSN store and just take like, oh, okay, all of these games on sale, and stuff like that. But anyway, I'll see you all next time.